rainy, rainy. We must be in Manchester because it's raining. Hey, welcome back to Veefour. As promised, this week, the Ducati Multistrada 1200 DVT. This is a 2015 model, and I have it on a demonstration from Ducati of Manchester, and this is possibly the final one of my three choices to augment my fleet of bikes so I can go touring whilst retaining my Aprilia 210 for the weekend where it belongs. Now, as I explained in previous videos, I'm choosing the three bikes that I am looking at, which is the Triumph Tiger 800, the BMW 1200 R1200 GS Touring Edition version, the TE version, and this, the Multistrada DVT, because all three bikes have cruise control, which is what I want on a long distance touring bike. I've since found out that also the Aprilia Capo Nord and the KTM Super Adventure both have as well, but I'm not entirely certain I'm going to test any more bikes than these. Now, this particular one is as I said earlier, it's a 2015 version. It's not got the Skyhook suspension on, but it's a demonstrator. It's my first time I've ridden on a Ducati in about 20 years, and the last one I rode was even then was like a really old version, and it shook like a shitting dog. Now, I've had this one for about an hour up to now, and I'll withhold what my thoughts are on it just for now while we give it a bit of a walk around. Very pretty looking bike. That nice single-sided swinger looks absolutely gorgeous. Look at that, it's absolutely beautiful. Beautiful looking bike, and this is what I always think, Italians just seem to know how to make bikes look nice. It's got the usual kind of beaky, birdy kind of front that adventure bikes all seem to have nowadays. Kind of reminds me a bit like of a budgie or something, I don't know. But that's not doing credit to the bike. It looks like a well rock hard and stylish budgie. But it's got all the whistles and bells, apart from the Skyhook suspension, of course. Brembo brakes front and back, which are up to their usual standard. You're not going to get better brakes on the road, that's my opinion. And yeah, she's a cracking looking bike. Now, unfortunately, I was running a bit late today, could not find my microphone, so this on bike portion of the review will be handed over to my able colleague Future Dave. Over to you, Future Dave.
Thank you, past Dave. This is Future Dave talking from the comfort of the edit, and all that pocket tapping was to demonstrate that this is in fact a keyless start bike. It's in my pocket, so it's working from there. And to start off, past Dave will now demonstrate the perfect application of the fully feet up U-turn. Over to you, Dave. Just demonstrating here just how well balanced this bike is. The low speed fueling isn't brilliant, but it's certainly good enough to do some nice low speed handling like this. This DVT variable valve engine, apparently, because I don't know, is a big improvement on the previous iteration of this engine, and allows it to be ridden more comfortably at lower speeds without all the associated lumpiness and bumpiness that you would get from a V-twin, or in this case, Ducati actually call it an L-twin. I think just because the rear cylinder's vertical. But yeah, just driving around the cemetery here, it demonstrates that this bike does indeed handle very, very well at low speed. on the highway properly. At this point I was in touring mode. I'd already given urban mode a try, which I didn't really like very much. It felt like it was holding the bike back a bit, which restricts it to 100 brake horsepower. But in touring mode you've got the full 160 brake horsepower, and it makes for, you know, a fairly nice ride. Now this early on in the ride I wasn't that taken with the bike. I found it a bit strange and a bit foreign to my usual tastes, but it was nice riding around at normal road speeds like this. It's a very comfy bike. Everything's where you'd expect it to be. The dash is really nice and clear. I do like that digital LCD dash, and things like the mirrors are excellent. They're very stable, no vibration in them whatsoever, no distortion, and you get to see a good amount of what's behind you. So just riding the bike around, my own sort of prejudices towards the L-twin aside, it does handle very well. It handles and turns a lot quicker than the BMW GS, and even though the road is a bit damp and greasy, it does handle very well, and it's very sure-footed. This is quite some slippery tarmac here, but now the bike's doing everything that I ask of it, and it's not giving me the idea that it may get a bit out of shape. It's wearing the I think the Pirelli Scorpion sort of hybrid off-road tyres, which I don't particularly like very much. Now that L-twin engine keeps the bike nice and thin, or slimmer, and as such she squeezes through busy urban traffic no problem at all. The bars are nice and wide, and certainly wide enough to give you plenty of authority and control over the bike, but not so wide that they hinder you when you're filtering. Just going onto the motorway now, and with having that full 160 horsepower on tap, the bike picks up really quickly, gets fully up to motorway speeds before you've joined the main carriageway, so there's no mucking about. You're straight on at full 70 miles an hour with very little effort at all. But as soon as I'm on the motorway, straight away I notice once again these little adventure bike screens doing a completely inadequate job of sending the wind over my head. So once again it's head buffet and wind noise. So once more it'll have to be some kind of aftermarket screen or extension to it just to make it a bit more comfy. So you put my head down and it's fine, but no, once again. Now the cruise control is super easy to activate on this bike. Out of the three I've ridden so far, this has got to be my favourite of the cruise controls. It's a one button operation, and it's on the left hand bar, which I much prefer, same as the BMW, which is where I think it should be, so you can operate it from the left hand whilst the right hand is resting. Now I'll look down at the right foot peg there for a reason, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later, but there is a bit of an issue with it. So here I'm just zeroing the tripometer to give me to give me a reset MPG, just to see what it does on the motorway. And there it is, fully zeroed now, and straight away it's showing in excess of 62, 63 mpg on the motorway. It vacillates a little bit between the sort of high 50s and the mid 60s, but eventually settles down at between 60 and 62 mpg, which was a really big, nice surprise. I was expecting this bike to be terrible on fuel, but it's as good as the BMW on the motorway. It's really shocked me and kind of opened my eyes a little bit to it. If you push the speed up a little bit on the motorway, the MPG does drop quite dramatically. Again, same as the BMW. I was given the impression that if you ride it around 80 miles per hour, you tend to get mid to highish 40 mpg at around 80 miles per hour. But that's to be expected. So back on the surface roads again, and once more the Ducati demonstrating its ease of ability when filtering, whereas I demonstrate my proclivity towards leaving indicators on. I do it all the time. It's really easy to change the mode on this bike as well. It's again one button operation. You simply toggle through using the info button until you've got the one that you want, shut the throttle down and it will engage the selected mode. In this case I have selected the sport mode. Now I was a bit indifferent towards the urban and the touring modes. They both felt like they held the bike back, that they were kind of responsible for a bit of wheeziness on the part of the bike, but straight away in this sport mode it's just instantly apparent that this is the mode that this bike should be in all the time. It's just so much better. It just feels and rides properly and correctly. Even if you're not riding it quickly, if you're just doing slow speeds or normal town speeds, the bike just feels so much better when it's in sport mode. And for me, if I was to get this bike, I would just put it in sport mode and leave it there. I wouldn't touch it. I really wouldn't. Because yeah, it's got 160 horsepower, but you don't have to use it all. I've always said this about powerful bikes, you don't have to have it. All you've got to do is ride it a bit more gently. It's certainly a lot less twitchy than the Tuono is, and a lot more forgiving in sport mode. And you just get the impression that the bike prefers being in this mode. And that's probably because, and I've said this before, the bike is designed to do what this bike is doing now. It's designed to ride like this, and the addition of all these other modes stifle the bike's performance. You know, you can choose to ride the bike slow. You don't have to ride it fast because it's in sport mode. And even in sport mode, the throttle response is quite moderate. It's where you want it to be. It's lively but not snatchy, and it just really does show this bike off at its best. And I left it in sport from here on in. I really did. It just, at this point, I actually now started to enjoy riding the bike. I started to see what the whole hype about Ducatis is. I started to understand what Ducati owners who were very loyal to the Ducati brand, I can understand why they are, because it is 100% nicer bike to ride. So back on the motorway again, and at this point it starts to rain, so we'll get to see how it fares in bad weather. The rain starts to get quite heavy now. Now, years ago I had a few years ago I had a Yamaha FJR 1300 fully fared touring bike, which if you just crunched yourself down behind the screen, if you just hunched down a bit, it really did keep pretty much 90% of the rain off you. It was brilliant for that. The Ducati doesn't do that. You can hutch down all you want, you're still gonna get wet. And I did get wet. and it gets worse. It really starts. It's a proper storm cloudburst this now. I am thoroughly soaked. I'm only in my leathers. I've got no waterproofs, but saying that, it wasn't terribly unpleasant, and if I had full set of waterproofs on of good quality, it would not have detracted from my enjoyment of the ride, because I was really starting to get into it now and fully enjoying it. So what do I like about this Ducati 1200 Multistrada DVT? Well, it's very stylish, very comfortable, it's superbly well equipped, and I really do like the switch gear on this bike. It's the best of all the ones I've tried so far. The cruise control is superb, it's a big plus, and it's my favourite out of the three bikes without a doubt. It makes a lovely noise. Again, these GoPro cameras just do not do justice to these bikes and the noise that they make. And I do like the Motorway MPG. Big surprise to me that was. It's a big thumbs up. What don't I like? Well, the engine can be a little bit vibey. You feel it thumping away underneath the tank there, but it doesn't translate through the handlebars. You get a little bit through the foot pegs and through the seat, but you don't get any through the handlebars, which kind of moderates that a little bit. And for all the bike's torque, and it has mountains of the stuff, you've still got to ride the thing around in second and third gear when you're just riding around in normal town traffic, a bit like the Tuono. You can't just put it in top and just let it roll on from 3,000 RPM. You have to keep it in a lower gear for it to feel like it isn't getting lumpy. But one of the big problems I found with it, and it's the one big problem for me, and it could be a deal breaker, is the right foot peg and the right brake lever. It's just a position too far into the bike. The engine case on the right of the bike totally covers the foot brake, and you can't get your foot on it. You've got to really cock your toe into the left to get your foot on the brake, and I kept slipping off it, and I only found I could only use half of the right hand foot peg, so I kept having to haul my right leg back onto the peg, and it was the one big detractor of this bike was that, and it is the one thing that if it come down to like a photo finish, that'll be it. So anyway, well, thanks for watching, and I apologise for not having me microphone in the helmet. So I'll just hand you back over now to Past Dave, who will wrap the review up. And again, thanks for watching. I do appreciate it, and I appreciate all your comments, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video I make. So back to you, Past Dave.
So, final thought. This is the problem that Future Dave was telling you about, the foot peg and brake arrangement. The engine cover here sort of pushes your foot outwards, so only the outside of the peg is being used, and your foot is completely on the outside. That's just tucked far too underneath there. Now look, it's not even outside the engine cover. But anyway, enough of that. This bike is growing on me, I must admit. I'm kind of seeing the Ducati thing now. Whether or not it's for me, I don't know. Again, it's given me a lot to think about. 3 different bikes, 3 very different characteristics of bike, and now I've just got to start thinking about it. So, from a very rainy Manchester, I will see you later, and please, as always, keep it sunny side up.